In the heart of Africa, Qattara exists like a gigantic water bomb, a chasm 133 meters deep, as vast as an entire country, located less than 80 kilometers from the Mediterranean Sea. For millions of years, the El Diffa limestone wall has been the only barrier holding back a catastrophic flood. But Egypt, instead of protecting it, is preparing the most insane geological surgery in history, deliberately breaking that wall to let the ocean pour into the desert. Why would a nation want to submerge 18,000 square kilometers of its own territory? This is not a collective suicide, but a trillion-dollar gamble to rewrite destiny. Behind the roaring waterfall plunging into the earth lies not only massive electricity, but also a strategic treasure of the 21st century, something even more valuable than oil. We are talking about a permanent heat engine, capable of changing the global climate and turning the Sahara into a new technology valley. Is this a masterpiece meant to save humanity, or an irreversible geological mistake? The truth lies right beneath the diamond drill heads of monstrous tunnel boring machines slicing through the continent. The idea of flooding Qattara is not a fresh product of the 21st century, but a grand dream that has haunted humanity for more than 100 years. History records that in 1912, the German geologist Albrecht Penck first stood in shock at the absurd elevation difference of this land. However, it was not until 1927 that Dr. John Ball, head of the Egyptian Survey Department, officially drew the detailed blueprint for that dream. With a massive area reaching 19,605 square kilometers and a deepest point of minus 133 meters below sea level, Ball realized Qattara was not just a hole in the ground. He saw a once-in-a-millennium physical opportunity. The scorching sun of the Sahara was not the enemy, but part of a perpetual energy machine. If seawater could be brought in, desert heat would evaporate it faster than it flowed inward, creating an endless current to spin electric turbines without a single dam. However, standing between dream and reality was a brutal geological gatekeeper, the El Diffa Plateau. This was not the soft sand dunes typical of the desert, but a massive fortress wall of dolomite, limestone, and hard sandstone, stretching 80 kilometers and separating the depression from the Mediterranean Sea. To make the flow real, humanity would be forced into an unprecedented excavation campaign in history, moving billions of cubic meters of rock and soil, 4 times the volume excavated to create the Suez Canal. Powerless before this majestic natural barrier, humans were once driven toward the most extreme engineering solutions ever imagined. In the 1960s and 1970s, amid the energy, hunger, and atomic age arrogance, Professor Friedrich Bassler of the West German Ministry of Economics proposed a plan that still sends chills down spines today. Inspired by America's Plowshare program, which used nuclear power for civilian purposes, the proposal called for drilling 213 deep holes along the El Diffa Plateau route and dropping nuclear bombs into them, each with a yield of 1.5 megatons, 100 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The plan was to detonate them in sequence, ripping open the Earth's crust and using the power of destruction itself to instantly carve a water channel without excavation. Fortunately, reason defeated madness. Fears that radioactive dust would drift with the wind into neighboring countries, along with the risk of triggering artificial earthquakes along the unstable Red Sea fault zone, led to the project's cancellation. Later nuclear test ban treaties permanently buried the idea of using atomic bombs for construction. But the impossible question remained: how do you pierce 80 kilometers of solid rock without destroying the ecosystem? Today, Egypt no longer looks to the sky for nuclear salvation. It looks down into the earth and finds the answer in the New Age's mechanical beasts tunnel, boring machine technology, gigantic iron worms that conquered the Swiss Alps, now summoned to conquer the Sahara. The new era of the Qattara project has completely abandoned apocalyptic nuclear blast scenarios and clouds of blinding explosives. In their place stands the cold precision of the high-accuracy mechanical age, with the true protagonists being the supermachines known as TBMs. If thousands of years ago the pharaohs needed 20 years and 100,000 workers to build the Great Pyramid of Giza from 2.3 million stone blocks, then their descendants today are using these steel monsters to perform a workload 6 times greater deep beneath the earth. Look at the staggering numbers of these underground mobile factories. A TBM designed for Qattara reaches a length of 450 meters. It weighs roughly 4,800 tons, equivalent to the mass of a modern missile escort ship. At the front sits the cutter head, a colossal cutting wheel, 15 meters in diameter, about the height of a 5-story building, fitted with over 300 cutting discs made from ultra-hard tungsten, carbide alloy, and synthetic diamonds. When operating, the hydraulic cylinder system generates a terrifying thrust of up to 25,000 tons, forcing the cutter head into the rock wall with pressure so extreme that the dolomite, limestone, and hard sandstone of the El Diffa Plateau shatter instantly. This is the spalling process, where rock does not wear away but explosively fractures under massive stress. To keep the machine enduring, a water cooling system continuously circulates thousands of liters per minute to cool the cutting tools, which can heat up to hundreds of degrees Celsius from friction. The true engineering miracle lies in the ability to drill and form the tunnel at the same time with absolute precision. The moment rock is crushed, screw conveyor belts transport over 500 tons of debris per hour out of the tunnel. Behind the drill head, automated robotic arms assemble the segments, high-strength reinforced concrete panels weighing between 10 and 15 tons each. In total, to complete this 80-kilometer tunnel, humans must install around 40,000 perfect concrete rings. Alignment error is controlled by laser guidance systems with a tolerance of less than 2 millimeters per kilometer, a level of precision comparable to mechanical watchmaking, but on a geological scale. The real challenge for Egyptian engineers is not only the 80-kilometer length, twice as long as the Channel Tunnel connecting England and France, but also the brutal underground conditions. Hundreds of meters beneath the desert, geothermal temperatures can reach 60 degrees Celsius, turning the tunnel into a massive furnace. Engineers must deploy ultra-powerful ventilation systems capable of delivering millions of cubic meters of fresh air per hour to sustain life for the operating crews.
The mission of this aorta is to carry the ocean's lifeblood at an estimated flow rate of about 650 to 800 cubic meters per second. To prevent the water from destroying the tunnel, the slope is calculated with extreme precision. A deviation of just 0.1 degree could trigger cavitation, where high-pressure vapor bubbles implode and rip through the protective concrete lining like paper. The historic moment will erupt when the final drill head pulverizes the southern rock wall of the El Diffa Plateau, opening the greatest underground canal on Earth. Gravity will then unleash the energy of billions of tons of Mediterranean water. The torrent will plunge from a height of 133 meters, equivalent to a vertical waterfall dropping from the 40th floor of a skyscraper. The roaring force of this flow will generate immense hydrostatic pressure, powerful enough to spin massive turbines and rewrite the energy future of all North Africa. At the heart of the Qattara project lies a stunning physical paradox, where wild nature joins forces with engineering genius to break the death sentence of conventional hydroelectric lake. According to the principle of communicating vessels, when you pour water into a closed basin, the water level will rise until it balances with the source. At that point, the flow stops, turbines cease spinning, and the project becomes a useless giant salt swamp. But at Qattara, engineers discovered a pump that never rests an invisible yet powerful ally, the Sahara Sunday. With some of the highest thermal radiation levels on Earth, averaging about 2,800 to 3,000 kilowatt hours per square meter per year, the Sahara Desert turns this depression into a colossal furnace. When Mediterranean seawater floods in and spreads across a lake surface reaching 19,500 square kilometers, roughly the size of an entire country like Slovenia, the intense heat ignites a fierce evaporation cycle. Calculations show that with summer temperatures regularly holding at 45 to 50 degrees Celsius, evaporation rates reach roughly 5 to 10 millimeters per day. In total, between 19 and 25 billion cubic meters of water disappear into the atmosphere every year. This evaporation creates a hydraulic negative pressure effect, keeping the lake level consistently about 60 meters below sea level.
This is a true open perpetual heat engine. As long as the sun shines and water continues to evaporate, a flow of roughly 650 cubic meters per second will constantly rush through the tunnel and spin the turbines without ever filling the basin. Physically speaking, humanity is not merely harvesting energy from flowing water, but actually capturing thermal energy from the sun and converting it into electricity through the intermediaries of vapor and gravity. Yet Egypt's ambition goes even further. Qattara is planned to become the largest energy storage battery in the world through pumped storage hydropower technology. Using the sheer cliffs of the northern plateau with elevation differences reaching 200 meters, engineers will construct massive artificial reservoirs atop the plateau. The operating process is remarkably intelligent. During the day, when desert solar fields produce surplus electricity, that energy is not wasted, but used to pump water from Lake Qattara back up into the plateau reservoirs. At night, or during peak demand, release valves open, unleashing millions of cubic meters of water from a height of 200 meters, spinning the turbines a second time, with energy conversion efficiencies reaching 75 to 80%. With a projected total capacity of 5,800 megawatts, the Qattara project rivals 6 of the most advanced nuclear reactors, or nearly 3 times the output of the legendary Aswan Dam. This is not merely a power plant, but the brain of regulation, stabilizing the entire national grid under the strain of explosive population growth. Still, if we focus only on dry gigawatt figures, we miss the project's greatest wonder. What truly amazes scientists is the byproduct of evaporation itself. Billions of tons of water vapor each year do not vanish. They are the key to unlocking a climatic miracle, transforming bitter, salty, dead water into green life for an entire continent. For decades, opponents of the Qattara project have raised a powerful argument. Continuous evaporation would turn this lake into a second Dead Sea. As water evaporates, salt remains behind and accumulates over time. This process creates a hypersaline body of water where ordinary fish and aquatic life cannot survive. Skeptics have called it the curse of dead water. However, through the lens of modern technology, this extreme salinity is no longer waste. It has become liquid gold. With solar energy driving evaporation completely free of charge, Lake Qattara effectively becomes a massive mineral concentration basin. It is the perfect environment to extract valuable resources such as magnesium, potassium, and especially lithium. In the age of electric vehicles and smart devices, lithium is considered the new oil. Extracting lithium directly from concentrated brine here is far cheaper and cleaner than tearing into traditional ore mines. At this point, Egypt would not only own a hydroelectric plant, but also control a renewable mineral source that never runs dry. Profits from battery materials could even surpass electricity revenues, turning this once barren land into the material technology hub of North Africa. The miracle of Qattara also rises into the sky. Billions of cubic meters of water vapor lifted from the vast lake surface each year will not vanish. This massive moisture volume acts like a gigantic air conditioning system for the desert. Winds blowing from the north will push the humid air deep inland, where it condenses into clouds and produces artificial rainfall. A milder climate will gradually form around the lake, reducing extreme heat and increasing soil moisture, allowing vegetation and natural ecosystems to revive. This vision offers an escape for a nation under immense population pressure. Today, 95% of Egypt's people are crowded into the narrow Nile Valley. The Qattara project would open an entirely new living space to the west. Modern cities, Sahara coastal resorts, and green farms would rise thanks to renewed rainfall. Qattara would no longer provide only power or minerals, but the most valuable resource for Egypt's survival new land for life and growth. From the colossal stones of the pyramids to reshaping the Nile through the Aswan Dam, Egyptians have never stopped yearning to rewrite the map of creation. The Qattara megaproject is the final surgical incision to heal the future of a nation thirsty for energy and living space. They do not wait for miracles from the sky. They forge them with their own hands deep underground. If successful, Qattara will no longer be a deadly abyss, but the new green heart of North Africa, where ocean moisture turns golden sand into grasslands and salty water evaporates to reveal lithium white gold. But remember, when humanity dares to play with gravity and oceans on a continental scale, the price can sometimes exceed the control of even the greatest engineers. And now the question for you: do you stand with those who support this technological revolution, or do you fear the wrath of Mother Nature? A new wonder, or an environmental disaster waiting ahead? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective is the final piece of this epic story. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, because in the next video, we will uncover an even crazier secret being carried out deep beneath the ocean floor. Thank you for watching. See you next time.